Let's get some more reaction out of this ongoing situation with the tsunami warning. I'm joined by Christa von Hillebrandt-Andrade. She's manager at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Caribbean Tsunami Program. Thanks very much for your time. Christa, can you give our viewers an update on what these tsunami warnings are currently? Where are they in place? Where was the epicentre, and what's the situation? What's the latest as you understand it?
Yeah. So as we know, there was a very large earthquake, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake off in Kamchatka in Russia, and that had a thrust mechanism. So those type of earthquakes have the ability to displace a large amount of water and then generate the tsunami. And because it's so large, then it can expand across the whole Pacific, with the sizes of the waves varying depending on the orientation and the location of different points. So we have some areas in the Pacific that can, have been forecast to have waves, from the 1 to 0.3 meter range, maybe even larger. These are waves that can cause actual flooding. In other places, it's been forecast, like, for example, the western coast of the United States, that the waves would be under a meter, but, would be, bigger than, between 0.3 and 1 meter. So you could expect maybe some very strong currents that can affect maritime operations and boats and things that are in harbors. And then there's other places in the Pacific which are considered to be out of threat. So it really varies depending where you are, what that level of threat is.
And I noticed there were tsunami warnings in place in Hawaii, also very much alert in Japan. What's your understanding about the areas that are likely to be worst affected by waves here?
So in the case of Hawaii, Hawaii is considered all one tsunami zone. So all the areas are put in the same sort of level of threat. And so there are some areas of Hawaii where the modeling showed that there could be waves between 1 to 3 meters. And in the US system, that corresponds to a tsunami warning. So therefore, for the most of all the islands of Hawaii, a warning has been issued.
And it's a similar sort of level, I'm advised, in Japan as well. But when it comes to this earthquake, though, Christa, we're told it's the largest quake since 2011 anywhere on Earth.
Yeah, it is a very, very large earthquake. Yeah, so in 2011, we had the Japan earthquake, the Sendai. And of course, we know that what that impact was. But, each earthquake, each tsunami is different. So we're just, starting to get observations from sea level stations and darts. And hopefully we won't be seeing those big impacts that we saw in 2011, which was, even a larger earthquake than this.
Indeed, and thinking back all the way to 2004 and the Boxing Day tsunami, as you reflect on this one and the size of the quake, it obviously does also. We've got to look at how deep the quake was recorded as well. From memory, the massive quake off Aceh was much shallower in terms of its surface.
Yes, and so it all depends on the length of the earthquake, the amount of slip that there is along the fault, and then the amount of water that's above that fault. So if the water is super shallow, even if it's a large, very large earthquake, then you're not going to displace so much water, and then your tsunami might be smaller. So there's a lot of factors that come into how big that wave can be. But from the readings that we're getting at tide gauges, it does not look like the tsunami is causing, at least in that first areas that reached those size of waves that we saw either in Japan or in Indonesia. But everybody just has to be super attentive to your warning officials and what they say the level of alert is. As I said, tsunamis, have very, they'll do different things in different ways. They'll wrap around islands or whatever. So you just have to, be on the watch out for what the alert level is for each of the, for your jurisdiction and where you are.
And thankfully, those jurisdictions are well versed on how to respond. Christa von Hillebrandt-Andrade, thank you very much for joining us and for your insights. Appreciate it.